This installation must be carried out by skilled accredited personnel only. Before you begin your installation, make sure you are familiar with the safety instructions in your installation manual. Ensure you follow procedural safety instructions and wear Category 1 personal protective equipment. Your Renaissance superRack should have arrived pre-configured with cable configurations as shown. The switchgear at the bottom and all battery packs have the orange positive DC connector plug on the left-hand side. If your superRack does not arrive with the cables in this configuration, contact your provider immediately. Your Renaissance superRack will arrive on a pallet pre-configured with the switchgear and battery packs in place. You will need to remove the pallet and carefully position the battery rack on a level surface using mechanical lifting equipment. Take care not to tilt the rack. For comprehensive position considerations, including clear zones, please refer to your installation manual. Once your superRack is in place, you will need to anchor the system to the floor using M16 expansion bolts or similar. Unlock and remove the switchgear door at the bottom of the rack. Ensure an equal potential earth cable is fitted to each superRack. The earthing cable is terminated at the bottom of the rack. Locate the isolation switch in the switchgear unit at the bottom of the rack and ensure that the switch is engaged in the off position. For an external inverter solution, you will have two 3-meter cables provided to connect the switchgear to the battery inverter. Each cable comes with a ring lug. This lug can be cut off if a bespoke lug or cable terminal is provided with the battery inverter. Thread both cables up through the penetration at the bottom of the rack. Connect the cable with an orange plug. This is the PCS positive feed. And then connect the cable with the black plug. This is the PCS negative feed. If you have a pre-installed in-rack inverter, PCS, then an AC connection to the PCS is required. To access the inverter, you will need to remove the front mesh panel. Remove the cable termination cover. Feed the AC mains and earth cable up through the penetration at the bottom of the rack. Connect the conductors to the inverter and then replace the cable termination cover. To provide power to the superRack, the installer must provide a 230 volt single-phase general power outlet or isolator within 5 meters of each switchgear unit, as well as an IEC pluggable cable. Connect this cable to the switchgear to power the rack logic. The superRack comes with a superEMS main and secondary controller. To connect the rack reset, there will be 2 fly leads terminated into COM1 of the switchgear. These are to be terminated into the relay module of the superEMS secondary controller. It is imperative that you terminate them in ascending order. For example, rack 1 goes into relay 1, normally open contact, and rack 2 into relay 2, and so on. Using your own cabling, you need to connect the micro USB port of the superRack to the USB hub within the superEMS secondary controller. If connecting multiple racks, ensure that they are connected in ascending order, with rack 1 connecting to USB 1 and rack 2 into USB 2 and so on. To connect the pre-installed in-rack inverter, connect an Ethernet cable from the Ethernet port of the inverter to the network switch inside the superEMS secondary controller. If the inverter requires RS485, you are able to connect to the RS485-2 terminals on the processor inside the secondary controller. When connecting the rack's communication to the secondary controller, connect RS485-1 A positive and B negative cables located on the terminal strip inside the secondary controller to terminals 1 and 2 on the green plug located on the switchgear faceplate. If there is only one rack in your installation, connect a 120 ohm resistor into terminals 3 and 4. If the installation has multiple racks, terminals 3 and 4 must be used to daisy chain the other racks. The secondary controller comes fitted with a 230 volt AC to 24 volt DC power supply. Using your own cabling, connect the power to the secondary controller, ensuring that the circuit is protected with a suitable circuit breaker. An internet connection is required for your installation. Using your own cabling, connect an Ethernet cable connected to your network WAN port on the superEMS main controller's router. Next, using your cabling, connect an Ethernet cable from the LAN port on the router inside the superEMS main controller to the network switch located inside the superEMS secondary controller. Using your own cabling, external devices can be either connected to RS4851 or RS485 ports on your superEMS main controller, or if Ethernet is connected, directly to your main controller's router or a secondary controller's network switch. The main controller comes fitted with 230 volt AC to 24 volt DC power supply. Using your own cabling, connect power to the main controller. Once all cabling works have been completed, if required, install the mechanical protection plate. Attach the rear protection plate on the inside of the front legs using the fixings provided, taking care not to damage any cables. Ensure the cables are fed through the gap. The rear mechanical protection plate comes with an earthing cable. This needs to be electrically connected to the main earthing point on the right hand side of the rack. The front mechanical protection plate also comes with an earthing cable that must be connected to the remaining earthing point on the rack. Once this is done, engage the front mechanical protection plate using the fixings provided, taking care not to damage any cables. Reinstall the security mesh front panel to the front of the rack using the security fixings provided. Then reinstall and lock the switchgear door. Your superRack is now ready for commissioning.